is you're going back to the roots here. And I'm a huge blues fan. I love Southern Delta blues. And I always think to myself, as I said, I've got a song on the new record called The Coastal Walls, and you've heard it in relation to the plight of the African Americans at the moment. But, you know, I always think to myself, those people, what they went through, you know, when they were, you know, abused and everything else. We won't go into that. When you hear the song, you'll hear what I'm saying. But I mean, all they had was that guitar and a bottleneck, and they played that. They played those songs. That was the song that was from Africa originally. That's where those songs came from. Is the African influence that was there, and then they developed into the blues that you hear on Southern blues. I'm talking about Mississippi John Hurt. I'm talking about Son House. I'm talking about John Lee Hooker. I'm talking about roots music that really means something and that is something. That's a people's culture that you're listening to. That's a privilege that you should always. I always say to people, you should never always listen to something like that as a privilege, because there's a history to that, and it's something that's all they had, Lance. They were slaves. They had no money. They were abused. They had no clothes even, hardly. And all they had that music that kept them going. And they had that music that kept their spirit up. And some might say that it was, you know, it was sort of homogenized by the 60s with the Stones and everything else. But I don't think so. I think what it did was it highlighted that music for the generation now, the generation back then, and obviously the generation now, which obviously then influenced rock and roll. It influenced, you know, what you hear nowadays in terms of blues music with certain influences. I have certain blues influences in some of the songs on Equinox, which are not straight Southern Delta blues songs, but I mean, for instance, Eden has a brilliant slide guitar from Adam Phillips in that song. It's just brilliant. Another song called In the Nighttime We Shone, where Adam Phillips just turns it into a swamp blues with beautiful slide guitar and effects, and there's a bit of wah at the end of it and everything else. And that's all part of my makeup in terms of how I write songs and my influences.